This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. I just got back from Gencon. What an exhausting and exhilarating trip. And so I wanted to kind of talk about the different things that I saw there, some game related, some not, mostly game related. But I want to talk about things that I saw that were really cool that I wanted to tell you about. And I want to mention that none of these 10 things are on either of the pre-lists that I did for Gencon. I did a top 10 games I've already played that were releasing there and a top 10 anticipated. None of these are going to overlap at all with those. I get to see some games that are coming out in the future. I get to see some cool things. Let me show you.
Number 10.
All right, number 10, 10th anniversary. Mixing that together, I got a chance to see in person the 10th anniversary edition of Pandemic. Now, I know a lot of people are totally burnt down on Pandemic. Quite honestly, I am too with the base game, but this one, I think might breathe new life into it because of how cool it looks. It's the one that has that metal, medical kit as the box, and it really looks cool. Now, granted, it was behind glass. I didn't get to hold it and touch it, but I got really right up close to it. It does look so cool. And then there's the different miniatures, which are not just like gray plastic miniatures. These are, by default, they're going to have this sort of washing on them, and it looks really cool. The details really stand out, but if you pre-order it, you'll get the painted miniatures, which looks really cool. And then I get to see the other components, some of the cards, the artwork, the petri dishes, and things like that. But it really does look cool. And when I first heard about this, I'm like, really, another Pandemic thing? But after seeing it up close, I could see that, it's a top seller anyways. I think this is going to breathe some new life into it. It was really cool to see the things in person. Definitely cool factor there, the 10th anniversary of Pandemic.
Number 9.
The next one is a game from CGE. They're a game company that does lots of great things. Almost everything they put out I really love. And they're great at putting the heavier stuff out, but like Codenames, they're really good at putting party games out. This one's another party game, not yet announced. It's called Trap Words. Now, I loved growing up a party game that is in mass market called Taboo. It's a popular game many people may know where one player is trying to get their teammates to say a specific word, but there's like 5 words that they can't say and the other team is buzzing them if they say it. And I always loved that game. We played it a ton when I was a kid. And this game takes that idea to a different level. It's the same kind of thing, but it's called Trap Words because you're going into a dungeon. It's a dungeon delving party game where you're going down different tiles. You're trying to get to the boss. Certain things will happen with different bosses, certain restrictions and things. But the other team, as you're trying to describe the words to them, they get to write the words down that they think you're going to say, that if you say them, then you're buzzed. And that's really cool. It reminded me of a party game over here that I loved called Spinergy. It was an older game. It came out like 2003. And it's like, it's like that you're trying to tell a story, but if you say any of these, these words that somebody else writes, they get your points. And this is kind of a twist on that I think the mechanism is going to work really good. I didn't play a full game, but I watched some people playing it. Also, it's a dungeon theme, so there's these 2 little books. You slide a card in, and if you play with one book, all of the answers are going to be somewhat dungeon related or fantasy related. But if you don't want to do that, you just slide the same exact card in a different sort of book, and they're going to give you general answers and general cards. They have such attention to detail in the way they do things. They could have just had a fantasy deck and a regular deck. No, you take the same card, you put it in a fantasy book or a something book, and like the right words show up. It's just really cool and magical. Anyway, this looks like it's going to be a huge hit. They know how to do party games right, and I know they're going to do this one right, and that's Trap Words.
Number 8.
All right, the next one was an announcement the week of Gen Con coming from Plaid Hat Games. This was called Gen 7. This was the next in their Crossroads series games. Crossroads was it was first used in Dead of Winter, where when something happens, a player will pick up a card, and if a certain condition has triggered, then they have to read a card, and thematically something happens, and they have 2 choices to do, and it affects the game. And this is the next game in that series. I love the Crossroads idea. I liked that aspect of Dead of Winter the best. I wasn't a big fan of Dead of Winter in the end anyways. So this I was really interested in. I got a chance to play, I'd say I think 3 full rounds of it. It's fully cooperative. It's a campaign game. where you're going through, I believe, like 9 different campaigns, and different things will happen throughout the campaign, and you're going through different things. And I'm totally cooperative at first. We'll see what happens. I guess different choices you make can have different things, but you're rolling dice, and there are different types of workers, and you're placing them out on different areas, and sometimes there's different placement rules, like they have to equal the dice that's next to it, sometimes they have to ascend, there's different ways to change the dice, everyone has special abilities, everyone has secret goals, and there's also some common goals that everyone is shooting for as well. And again, I only played 3 rounds of this. We played it for about 30 minutes, but I did like what I saw. The artwork looks cool. You know, none of this was final, but the aspect of going around, spending dice, doing different things, but you still have sort of that Dead of Winter-ish. I'm doing this for the better of us, but I'm also doing it more for me. Kind of has that aspect of it too, and the games are only supposed to last about 45 minutes. So I'm really interested in playing more of this, but it was really cool. That's Gen 7.
Number 7.
The next one is actually going to be on Kickstarter in September from a company called Artana Games. And this is going to be designed by Scott Alms. It's called Lovelace and Babbage. Now, Ada Lovelace was in the 1800s. She was, I think, quoted as maybe the first, she was a female mathematician. Some people call her the first computer programmer. But back then, they were just doing mathematics that was going into this mechanical computer that was being built with gears by what Babbage's team was making. And I don't think it ever got finished, but then I guess like a handful of years ago, someone in London, it's actually in the museum, someone got the original plans and actually made this machine that you can go and see, and it was like way ahead of its time. Anyway, this game is based on that. You're going to be some historical figures in that time, maybe Ada, maybe Ada Lovelace, or maybe Babbage, and some others, and you're going to be programming subroutines. Essentially, it's a game where you're looking at a few different things that you can use for formulas, like plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 5, add 10, divide by 2, multiply by 2, flip a number. And there's a bunch of people up top that have numbers, and everyone starts at the number 55, and you're trying to do up to 5 subroutines to get to certain numbers for that round. And each of those numbers are different historical figures. You also have one of your own subroutines, which if you get that one, it activates a special ability for you later on. It's really cool. And then at the end, each round, more routines and more formulas open up, so your options open up to do different things. And as you get to get to different numbers, you activate different sort of special, a tick mark down a certain track, and at the end of the game, you're getting points for how much you had area majority in certain tracks. It's like a 30-minute game, but it is a super thinky, crunchy, mathy filler game that was really cool. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be coming into Kickstarter in September from Artana Games, Lovelace and Babbage.
Number 6.
I got a chance to go to the CMON press party. One of the games we played there, which we were supposed to play at CMON Expo back in May, but it like just missed being there. It's designed by Eric Lang and Antoine Bauza. Wow, what a dynamic duo. It's called Victorian Mastermind. This is a sort of a action selection programming game where you're all nefarious people in the Victorian era, and you're trying to build your own vehicle. They're all different. And you'll be doing that by gaining different resources, doing different things. You're going to be programming, going to different areas. And it's really cool because each of the people you program, your agents that you send out, have an ability. And as soon as there's a certain amount of those on a spot, they all flip and they trigger in the order of who went there first, second, third. And sometimes you're gaining resources. Sometimes you're blowing up buildings. Sometimes you're trying to complete an objective at that area. And you're trying to get all these things and get these resources because you're using certain resources to build certain things on your ship, which then give you sometimes special abilities right then that you trigger. So it's like resource management, programming. You can mess with what other people are doing. As you blow up buildings, you're getting resources. Sometimes you're completing objectives. All this stuff sort of ties in. It was really cool. Everyone I played it with and everybody before and after me said they really liked it, and I enjoyed it. The buildings look just amazing too. All these big miniature buildings. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's coming out later this year, and that's Victorian Mastermind.
Number 5.
Another one that was at the CMON press party. So a cooperative game came out a few years ago that was really popular. It's in a sort of a small box. It was called The Grizzled. It was really hard. The game was a lot of fun. But it was almost too hard. Then they came out with an expansion which helped you change the difficulty a little bit easier, and the game got even more fun. Ooh, baby. At the end of this year, they're going to be coming out with a new version of this. I forget the name of it. It looks like a collector's edition, but it's much more than that. It comes with pre-painted miniatures. Yes, they look just like this. It's going to be cool, and it is a 9-game campaign. It comes with the base game, comes with the expansion, and comes with this 9-game campaign where every game you have certain different things to do, and they go chronologically in order for different wars that were right around that time period, different battles that were in that war, that time period. And as you go through the campaigns, they're all going to have their own little setup rules, their own little rules, and sometimes in the second half of the campaigns, things will happen that will change, and it changes the trajectory of what you can do. So I was told once you go through the campaign, because some of the second half ones do different things, you could play this campaign all the way through again and have different things happen. I think that's really cool. I love the Grizzled in the first place, but adding the pre-painted miniatures and all the things, there's different cards that come out that good things happen, bad things happen, but you can also use those. There's rules to use those specific cards as modules in the base game outside of the campaign when you're done as well. Sounds like they've thought about everything here. I cannot wait to get my hands on this new version of the Grizzled.
Number 4.
The next one is from Yellow. It's coming out later this year, Q4. It's called 8-Bit Box. Now, back in the day, I think for my 10th birthday, somewhere around there, I got the original Nintendo, the 8-bit one, the NES. And gosh, I can't tell you how many hours I played logging that thing. But this is an 8-bit box where it's a game box that you play as a tabletop game. But it comes out looking like a really cool console. Everyone has their own little remote control that's essentially like programming wheels. And it comes with 3 different games. One is similar to Pac-Man, where one player is running around trying to stay away from the others. And that one is 3 or 4 players. There's another one that's sort of like F-Zero where you're flying through, and I think that's 3 to 5 players or 3 to 6 players. And there's another one that's 4 or 6 players. It's a team-based sort of event game, or the Olympics, if you will. In each of the events, you got to do different things. And I looked through the rules of all these, and I kind of got to see what it all looked like. I haven't played them yet, but it looks really cool. I just like the idea that it's 8-bit box, and they could bring out more games for it, and you could just play with the components. It comes with a bunch of standardized components, cubes, and things like that. But to go after this sort of, hey, I'm playing Nintendo, but I'm not. I'm on the table, but they kind of resemble certain games from that. I think it's a really cool thing, and that's the 8-bit box.
Number 3.
The next one is a pretty interesting thing that if you're a gamer, I'm guessing the majority, you won't care about this, but hang on because there's a cool twist at the end. When I was a kid, I used to play this old style electronic football game, and you would turn it on, the guys would just be running all over the place, and you couldn't quite control them that well, and there's a lot of history here. Well, the company that made this has been bought out over the last handful of years, and this company's really been doing some good things with this. There's different size electronic football things, fields. You can pick any of the teams that are out there, and these are actually very customizable about what you can do. You're really running plays. On the bottom of these are different sort of skids that you can change how they're running, where they're going, and so you can actually run plays, but it's very much timed. You can also use this app on an iPad, which will actually show you have a certain amount of time to set your offense. They're at the same time setting their defense. Certain things happen. You stop, you pause. Depending on what happens, you might be able to turn defenders or offensive guys to go in and do it. It just looked really cool, but I'm dying to play this. Now, for those of you that don't care about sports, since the bases are standardized, what some people are doing is they're taking fantasy, different type of miniatures and putting them on there. This company sells some of the base miniatures themselves that people are painting themselves as to what they want them to look like. But he's also been telling me that other people are putting those fantasies. So you're like, picture like a bunch of orcs and stuff, like almost think of like Blood Bowl, and you can actually put them on there and play a physical game with it. And so I think that might bring other people in this hobby to the actual game itself. But if you like sports, it's kind of a no-brainer. This electronic football thing looked amazing. I cannot wait to play it.
Number 2.
All right, the next one is something, wow, I didn't even know this existed, and it was really cool. We walked down to the underground tunnel with the arcade games down towards where all the role-playing and True Dungeon was in the Lucas Oil Stadium, and there was this thing called Minuteman Miniatures, and they would do these 3D scans of your head. It looked like an Xbox Kinect camera, and they would just do this scan, this 3-dimensional scan all the way around, and they can make you into your very own miniature. And oh my gosh, it was so cool. They had so many different sculpts. I think like 30 or more sculpts. Some D&Ds, some like historical, like on horses and cavalry and stuff like that. All different types of sculpts. And they put your head, they had male and female versions of all of them. And basically they're gonna put your head on there. So I definitely did it. It's gonna take about 8 weeks to get it, and I'm gonna have someone paint it. I ended up picking up the Druid, which it just looked kind of cool, and it's gonna take out people, and I can't wait to like put that as my side character and be like, yep, there's me. And they sold them in different sizes. It was like, you know, the standard size 30. I went with a 40 millimeter, so I think it's closer to the size. It was only 40 bucks, but it's gonna take 8 weeks, and I really can't wait. It's just such a cool idea that like, oh, I'm gonna be me in the game. Boom, there's my miniature, and I'm a, you know, a barbarian. Or my friend Kat from Glory Hound, she was a female mage, so that's kind of cool. I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever, and I think they're gonna be at a lot of other conventions. They said once they scan your head somewhere at one of the conventions, you can buy anything like up to the next year or something like that. So it's just really cool. Minuteman miniatures.
Number 1.
Number 1 is always the people, especially for Gen Con, because I get to see people from Europe that I only get to see really once a year. Now, I ran into a lot of my media friends, and if you're watching this, I can't mention all of you because there were so many of you. I love all you guys and gals, and it's like, you know, if you spent time with me, it's part of this. But like some people I only get to see once a year, and this is it. I got to meet new people. Barry Dublé, for example, reviewer. Him and I have corresponded online a lot. Finally got to meet him. He's just as crazy a person as he is on his Berkey and Badger show and in his reviews. It was really good to finally meet him. Bruno Cathala I get to see one time a year, and it was fun to kind of check out some of his newer prototypes and such. I got to see the actual Dr. Lucky from the Kill Dr. Lucky game. That was kind of cool. I got to meet Jamie Stegmaier for the first time. That was really fun. I got to meet the designer team from Dragon Castle, who just did Railroad Inc. And, you know, just hanging out with people, having dinners, having meetings. It's always the best thing is the people, and I got to see a lot of that, and it's always the best part of Gen Con. Well, there you have it, the top 10 things I saw at Gen Con. I hope this inspired you to possibly maybe go next year if you haven't been or you didn't go this year. This has been the Game Boy Geek, helping you find and enjoy the next board game you'll love.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.